Well, welcome to the Church Office podcast.
My name's Gavin Smith, and if you're joining us on video, then here's a little wave.
We're excited to have Nigel Ring join us.
I've never actually heard the word wicked and accountant put in the same sentence.
Well, hello and welcome to the Church Office podcast. My name is Gavin Smith, and it's a joy today to welcome you to our Admin and Ops podcast. We love talking about the work of ministry behind the scenes. We get excited about policy. We get excited about finance, health and safety, all the things that maybe other church leaders don't love. We love to chat about them on the podcast. And my special guest today is Steph Jobs from the EMW. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks. Privileged to be here. Sorry, I didn't know this was going to be recorded. So I'm in my room that is currently a dump, but it's probably reflective of what most people in Wales go through, actually. So there's piles of stuff everywhere. I apologize.
Yeah. You were saying to me that your computer broken down, so you were borrowing someone else's. So you jumped into some filing, mate. What a day.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So my computer broke beginning of the week, so it's had to go off to be fixed. And then, there were a number of boxes that have been looking at me for a year. And therefore I decided, right, let's start to go through them. So I've kind of triaged it, and, there's different piles around. And then I'll have to go through each pile at some point. But all good.
I think we can all, as church administrators, church managers, relate to that. There is the filing system always seems to be one of the end jobs, the last jobs on the list, and which never gets to. And then you blitz it one day and totally destroy the office with piles of paperwork and whatsoever. Steph, tell our listeners a little bit about you're in a full-time post, aren't you, with EMW? Tell us a little about your role and your church and family, whatever else. Give us a bit of an intro into you.
Okay, so I'm based in North Wales. So I live in Rhiwlas, which is a little village just outside Bangor. And I'm the Assistant General Secretary of the EMW. It basically, so that the charity, we try and support Christians and churches throughout Wales in both languages. And I'm kind of the senior full-time member of staff for the charity. So we've got an office here, and we've got some staff here in the office. But from a church point of view, I'm an elder in Capel Ffynnon, which is a Welsh Evangelical Gospel church in Bangor. We kind of we try and reach specifically the Welsh speakers in this area. Obviously, there's a lot of in Northwest Wales, a lot of Welsh speakers. All the schools, primary schools, are Welsh speaking and so on. So we kind of try and reach out, which is a tough gig at the moment. Welsh speakers generally are not responding to the gospel, which is really sad. So I appreciate prayers for that. But that's kind of my role. I'm married and two children, which is also a lot of work. The children, not the marriage.
Good man. And so, for those who don't know, the EMW is the Evangelical Movement of Wales. It's essentially, it's not a network, is it? It's a group of churches in the sense. Is it a network? Is it? How would you describe it?
I guess it's just a group of Christians and churches who are unified around the gospel. It kind of started in the 1940s, where there was a period of blessing in a number of places, and then there was a lot of liberalism, and people were just kind of on their own, so they came together to try and support each other. So that support kind of started off as a magazine and kind of trying to do a bit of evangelism in national events, but it quickly kind of morphed into things like conferences, where they would come together for a time, and fellowship and so on. It would be ministers' work. So again, a lot of work where the ministers, there was a lot of sort of theological fighting going on really in the 50s and 60s and 70s, where there was this sort of thing between obviously liberalism and evangelicalism, and then camps with young people, bookshops kind of opened, again to try and so loads of different things. So the movement has kind of changed over the years.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of that basis really, that we try and support Christians, gospel Christians, wherever they are.
Yeah.
So a lot of our work will be done with specifically small situations, small churches, where maybe they can't do things by themselves. So by bringing people together, we can have a conference, we can run evangelistic missions, we can run camps and all those kind of things. And we've got a conference centre as well in Bala that's used quite a lot.
Yeah, it's fantastic. When I spoke to Phil Swan, he described EMW of, the kind of the work that you do is, smaller churches find it hard to put camps on, conferences, to train leaders, to get some evangelistic programs going, but where you can join together, you're stronger together because you can run some of these things centrally. And I love that. I absolutely love that, guys. And I think what you guys are doing is fantastic. And one of the things that I hear time and time again as I kind of chat to lots of churches across Wales, but further afield as well, is people that have gone, oh, I went on the EMW camp and I made friends with so and so, and that really has been quite impactful in lots of young people's lives. And your camps are always full, aren't you? Fill us in a little bit about what you're doing there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great ministry that God's blessed. So yeah, for many years really, we've just been organising sort of summer camps, so week-long camps where we bring sort of 40 or 50 kids together, and then there are leaders, there's a chaplain, so every day there'll be a kind of a Bible teaching, sermon, service, and so on. There'll also be Bible studies in the evening, and then a lot of fun and so on.
Yeah.
So there's a team of officers there. So this year we're running, I think it's about 15 camps. So they happen in English language and Welsh language as well. And what we've seen recently is maybe more shorter camps as well. Obviously cost of living and all of that is having an effect. And maybe a lot of children who are not from church background coming away for a week. It's quite intense.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've started doing some shorter camps at different times of the year as well.
Yeah, I love that. And Steffan and the guys at EMW have kindly offered to add some risk assessments to the church office. So if you're in a church and you're putting on a camp this year, or you're doing something even, across the summer in a slightly, days or different days, then what a great place to start from people who are running these camps, have run them for years and years and years. You've got loads of experience. All of this is backed up with policy and risk assessment, and these guys are being very generous and saying, right, well, let's bless other churches and add these onto the website. So we'll put some link into the show notes for people to access them and use them. So, Steph, a lot of your work then for EMW is supporting churches behind the scenes. Are you supporting them in a way that is kind of related to policy, so safeguarding, health and safety? Are you supporting churches in those kind of areas as well?
Yeah, we haven't got affiliation. So in one sense, we're not responsible for churches, and so one of the main things we try and do is through our events, kind of training and that kind of thing. So especially the church training days that we've had. So we'll try and get people in, like yourself. You were speaking in our training days this year. So it's just great to see. You've probably got like 100 churches between the two events, just listening, getting to know what you've got.
Yeah.
and then quite often we'll share. So, one church has got something that's really good, so share it with the other churches and so on. And we quite often get people contacting us, asking for things and so on. And obviously, most of our events are kind of so many volunteers are part of the event, and then they see what we have. They get trained up, and then they go back to their own churches, and especially with the camps work, you're talking about hundreds of officers and so on. So they see our risk assessments, our policies, safeguarding training, and all of that. So then they're kind of equipped to go back to their own churches.
Yeah. And look at how that applies into their context, isn't it? Yeah, which is great, isn't it? And so you put on these training days, and you guys have got a real heart to sort of train at the next generation. And you've got a kind of a leadership training school that I think last time Phil had said to me you'd had like 20 people on from across the country, not just Wales as well, isn't it?
It's
theological course.
Yeah, the theological training course. So again, that's quite interesting. It's amazing, really. I mean, hundreds of guys have gone into ministry through it. So it's basically a 4-year course. It involves 2 residential weeks in Easter and the summer, and the rest is all kind of done kind of distance learning and so on. So it seems to be a really good course for people who are in full-time work or are. I mean, you've got to be really serious because it's a lot of work, but it seems to set a good pattern that can continue then into ministry. So you get used to doing a lot of work on your own, a lot of study on your own, but you're making friends with others. So you're sharing and you're talking. So it actually provides a really good basis for ministry, because what we see then is these guys, they go into their churches, but they're still friends, they're still talking weekly. Any issues they can share with each other and so on. And obviously we've got the lecturers who are all kind of, they're all been in pastoral ministry or are in pastoral ministry. So it's very kind of practical.
It's almost very vocational in that sense, isn't it? With experienced people, that's great, isn't it? And not only just the opportunity to study theologically, but also to chat and say, how do you deal with this pastoral situation? How do you grow in these areas? And this training is absolutely vital. So I love that. The other aspect that you've done, I've seen you running around Aberystwyth University a few times, as we've done I've run a conference and then you've run one later. I mean, you've been doing this Aber conference for many, many years. Fill us in a little bit about that.
Well, we got 2 summer conferences. So we do a lot of smaller conferences during the year, and conferences for specific people, specific roles within the church. But every summer there are 2 conferences that are open to anyone, the English language one and then the Welsh language one. So they're kind of known as the Aber conference, or the Gynhadledd in Welsh. So it's just an opportunity for Christians to come together, and then as you'd have with a conference. So you've got preaching sessions morning and evening, and services and worship and so on, and then seminars and lots of kids work and all kinds of different things, for a mission exhibition as well. A kind of a packed week, or packed 2 weeks during the summer.
And you do those back to back, don't you? So you basically move to Aberystwyth for 2 weeks.
We kind of take our. I always think in this work you just need a laptop and a Bible. And if you've got a laptop and a Bible, then you're okay.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Apart from you're down a laptop at the minute, so you're going to walk with a slight limp for a little bit. I love that. It's great. And as you say, if you're a listener thinking you'd like to get along to come to sunny Wales for a little holiday for a conference, and there's a conference available there. What are the dates for that, Steph, this year? I'm putting you on the spot now. We'll see how good administrator you are.
I am looking at my calendar on the wall. So it's the 10th to the 17th, the English language one. of August.
Yeah.
Then the Welsh is the following week, so 19th to the 24th.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. It's just, really good biblical expository preaching and just great fellowship, really warm, get to know people and be encouraged. And again, it's part of our DNA really, because
Yeah.
a lot of these Christians come from small churches. I was preaching the other day, about a really good gospel church, but say 15, 20.
Yeah.
And it can be a slog, kind of, you come every week, you try and reach out, but not seeing much fruit, much growth. So it's a real help then to come to something, where there are over 1,000 people and really almost like a foretaste of heaven, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Come
yeah.
to
To go and enjoy that, isn't it? Yeah.
sing and yeah.
So you're working with a lot of smaller churches, Steph. Is there anything particularly that the church office can do to support churches? Would it help to have some policies, translated into Welsh and those kind of things? What are they in need of, my friend? What are you seeing across the board for smaller Welsh evangelical churches?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the big thing with smaller churches is just you haven't got a lot of people,
Yeah,
and therefore a lot falls on one or two people.
yeah,
So yeah, recently I've been trying to go through a lot of policies that we have with the EMW, and trying to think, well, how can we work that one out
yeah,
in a smaller situation? And especially things like safeguarding and so on. So I do training for safeguarding, and in one sense, the EMW, we've got a safeguarding system,
hmm
and we have hundreds of children coming through our camp. So we've got a lot of resources in one sense, but
yeah,
thinking, well, what about that?
yeah,
Those two people who are on their own in the middle of nowhere trying to do a Sunday school.
yeah,
So it's kind of thinking like that. So yeah, we've just been trying to think through, and yeah, things like GDPR. Um, I was sort of putting our staff into the Charities Commission
yeah,
website recently for for the MW, but also for the church. And they've just got a list of policies, and that you've got to say, "Oh, I've got this," or "I
yeah,
haven't got that."
yeah,
It can
yeah,
be so scary. So
yeah,
yeah, what I've been trying to think of is, how on earth, and yeah, once I kind of get, especially obviously there'll be Welsh language, the first ones that we do, but yeah, I'll share them so that people can download them. Um, but yeah, and then obviously the big thing with especially independent churches is kind of whistleblowing
yeah,
complaints,
yeah,
thinking through that. Um, so recently we've been thinking, well, how on earth can we work that one out? And
yeah,
one idea that we're trying to think through now is, can we have different churches partnering together,
yeah,
so that we can kind of almost support. So if there is a problem within a church,
yeah,
is there a sister church or somebody that they could go to share,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and to try and help. Um, so yeah, I think the scale is the big thing.
yeah.
It's
It's
in,
really interesting, yeah. Thinking about whistleblowing with a congregation of 12, where there's one minister who might even be in a part-time or just a voluntary role. There's a lot here, isn't there? If you just start thinking about some of the fundamental things that we need in place of health and safety, how do they work that, the safeguarding, yeah, how do they work through those risk assessments and complaints? Yeah, you do feel for them, my friend, and yeah,
yeah,
we've
and
seen ministers walk away, haven't we, because they carry this burden and they don't.
that's the thing. And a lot of churches then will kind of say, well, okay, we can't do it. But yeah, what's great is you can. There
Yeah,
are ways around it. There are ways to really do things well. But quite often you have to do things slightly differently.
yeah,
But as long as you do that, and there's a lot of I think what I find really helpful with my work is there's a lot of fear out there.
Okay.
Fear, oh, well, what will safeguarding, what will social services do? What will the police do if they get called in? Where, because of the work we've done and because we deal with, the police and social services and so on, we're able to share, really that actually they are very supportive most of the time, and it's a real partnership. And then it's great just to see small churches being able to do things and to run things, and see this as not as a negative thing, but almost as a positive and a witness.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that we really want to do as a EMW, especially with our camps, is we want to do things really well so that obviously any parent, but if a parent's not a Christian and they're linking in with us and sending a child, that they know that we've done everything possible to care for the child, and hopefully that's a real witness. And these days, obviously, there are far more kind of complaints, and since COVID, the kind of level of parents contacting us, nervousness around things has really increased. So being able to deal with that well is important, I think.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was having a chat to my wife, who's doing a psychology degree, and she's on her final year, and we were just chatting about our kids and what was the impact on them of COVID, and at all at different stages and different ages, and you can see some particular year groups where it had so much more of an impact, and we see it in our own kids and their friends. And now this is only a small bit of discussion, but you do see a lot more contact from parents in certain year groups where you've gone, okay, they would have really struggled, and really have been affected socially, have got greater fears. Just leaving the house for some is a real challenge. So there are some challenges there, aren't there? And some interesting. So mate, what you're doing on the camps is fantastic. And again, I'll put some links into your website and just give people an opportunity to see the stuff that you're doing. And you David Norbury was saying to us before that he's been involved in some sort of beach mission stuff. So do you link into some of that work, some of that kind of evangelistic work as well?
We don't do beach missions. So Dave does all kinds of different things. So he's part of the United Beach Missions charity as well. We do quite a lot of missions. So that would be helping churches. So we would partner with churches, especially against smaller churches. Let's say they want help, either a week or a longer period. And then what we can do is bring other churches, maybe larger churches, sort of volunteers in and so on. But we also try to go to national events. So things like the Royal Welsh Show, things like the Eisteddfod in the Welsh language, where kind of festivals where hundreds of thousands of people come. So go there and try and share the gospel. And that again is sort of from an administrative point of view is quite interesting, and there's a lot of work actually, especially recently. You've got far more health and safety, safeguarding stuff coming in, and having responsibilities in those kind of areas.
Because I'm sure Lewis and Jenny, one of our pastors, he was saying he was involved in one of those missions before, and there was you guys were doing food and feeding people at different times in the evening, and there was lots happening to take these events and show up at these events and really take the gospel out there, and I love that kind of edge, that kind of desire to go and share the gospel, and I love the fact that you guys are serving. So a lot of your time is going into serving smaller churches, and I just think that's a wonderful thing, where we're enabling ministry and the gospel to happen in churches that are under-resourced and lower numbers, and where there is a greater responsibility, like you say, for those one or two people that that carry these things. So it's a brilliant work. Tell us, finish on your residential centre, because when I came up for you to do the event with you guys up in North Wales, you've got a fantastic facility there, mate, right in the heart of some beautiful countryside. It's stunning. So coming from Newport, it was quite a change of scenery.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, we've got our residential centre in Bala, North Wales. So, yeah, it's smack bang really in the middle of rural Wales, very close to the Eryri Mountains, Snowdonia Mountains, and so on. So yeah, it's a place for Christians to use. And we have all kinds of different groups. So some, we do run camps and use it a lot for camps. But throughout the year, then we have church groups coming, CUs.
Yeah.
I mean, even places like Liverpool and Manchester are only an hour and a half away. So yeah, it gets used. And recently we've just built a new block that has kind of allowed us to take more kind of smaller groups as well, which is really sort of something I think worthwhile, especially North Wales. A lot of smaller churches, smaller groups, so we were able to split the site up. And
Yeah.
Yeah, the other day I was reminded just how important it is, because we have, I know we've been refused the use of some buildings because as Christians, because of what we believe.
Yeah.
Which is just, who would have thought of that, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, these centres now and Bryn y Groes, our conference centre, is just somewhere safe where Christians can come and really have time together and time away. And obviously where it is great because it's quiet and you almost
fantastic.
feel relaxed when you drive up.
Yeah.
So.
As you de-stress as you drive through those windy roads. But someone was saying to me, I think it might have been Phil Swan's wife, was saying that she will offer do a kind of free swim in the is it in the reservoir, the lake?
There's a lake, it's the largest natural lake in Wales. So yeah, you can. There's all kinds of stuff and water sports there, and there's a whitewater rafting place not far as well. And then obviously North Wales, then you've got all the Zip World stuff. Things. So yeah, it's. So
if you're thinking, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, hey, we want to do a residential, a weekend away, a small group thing, then please have a look at the accommodation and the centre up in North Wales, and see if it's suitable for you to hire. I guess all the prices and all the information's online for that, Steph.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing is just give them a call. Steve and Deb, they came from Newport a year ago. They're our new managers there, and they've just got a heart to serve people. So give them a call, and even something like, so we were talking about the church training days, weren't we? And we had one there in January, and it was just a morning really. But then a number of churches said, "Oh, it'd be great to do a weekend." But next year now we're going to offer, so churches can bring their their leadership team or their
fantastic.
Come on a Friday night, stay over, food, and spend the day there, have some training in the morning, and then sort of free time in the afternoon as a group.
I love that. It's great. Well, mate, thanks for taking the time to jump on the podcast and fill us in. And thank you so much again for these risk assessments, and we'll make them available online. Please download them and use them. This strengthens the church, and as the church is strengthened, the gospel goes out, and we don't want churches just to be efficiently run. We want that edge of, this is about gospel ministry and churches working together with that in mind. So Steph, thanks for your time, buddy. Thanks for all that EMW are doing and the support. I love working with you guys, and bless you in your ministry and in your computer and your filing. Hope all of this stuff comes together, mate. I think I'd be lost without a computer for a few days.
Yeah, I have been considering just maybe a match. Maybe yeah, start
Well,
again.
we'll see you again on the podcast. Thank you for those listening, and yeah, please get in contact with us if you've got a question, you've got a topic, you've got something that you'd like us to chat more about on the podcast. We would love to hear from you at questions@thechurchoffice.co.uk. In the meantime, God bless you and your churches. Speak to you soon. Bye.